At the New Haven Police Academy, discipline was everything. No distractions, no emotions, no crossing the invisible lines that kept everyone safe. I was Liam Carter, 22, new recruit, trying to prove I belonged among men who lived and breathed control. My roommate and assigned mentor was Officer Nathan Reyes, older, sharper, impossible to read. He carried authority like it was part of his uniform, the kind of man who didn't need to speak twice to be obeyed. The first night he said only one thing to me. "Keep your head down, rookie." I tried. God knows I tried. But the more time we spent together, the long hours, the silent stares, the rare moments when his voice softened, the harder it became to pretend I didn't feel something, and the night our sergeant warned us to keep our distance. Nathan walked in and closed the door behind him. "If you believe some rules are meant to be broken, stay until the end." This story isn't about duty. It's about desire, fear, and the moment one man decided to cross the line. The first thing you learn at the New Haven Police Academy isn't how to shoot, fight, or run. It's how to stay silent, silence in formation. Silence when the sergeant's boots echo down the corridor. Silence when you're being torn apart for something you didn't even do. That's how it started for me, 22. Heart pounding, uniform too new, trying not to breathe too loud as Sergeant Holbrook paced past the line of recruits. He stopped right in front of me, his eyes narrow and sharp. "Carter, right?" "Yes, sir. You look like you still ask permission to shave. You sure you're ready for this?" "Yes, sir," he smirked. "We'll see about that." And then he moved on. I didn't even realize I'd been holding my breath until Nathan Reyes spoke beside me. His tone was quiet, steady, the kind that didn't need to raise its volume to be heard. "Don't take it personally, rookie," he said. "He breaks everyone on the first day." I turned my head slightly. It was the first time I'd seen him up close. He wasn't like the other recruits. There was something measured about him. The clean buzz cut, the faint scar near his temple, the way his uniform fit like it had already molded to him. His badge shone under the fluorescent lights, catching just enough glare to remind you he'd earned it. "Reyes," I said softly, reading the tag on his chest. He nodded once. "Senior cadet, I'm your roommate and your mentor." "Lucky me," I muttered before I could stop myself. He glanced at me, and for a second I thought I saw the corner of his mouth twitch. "Watch that attitude, Carter. Holbrook doesn't like recruits with opinions." I nodded, pretending I hadn't just been caught staring at the way his jaw flexed when he talked. That night, I unpacked in our dorm. The room was small. 2 beds, 2 metal lockers, 1 desk under a flickering light. He was sitting on his bed, cleaning his sidearm, the motion slow and precise. The sound of metal clicking echoed softly in the room. "You from around here?" he asked without looking up. "Not really," I said. "Small town up north. Population 601. Maybe 600 now that I'm gone." That earned a faint smile. "So what made you come here?" I hesitated. Wanted to do something that mattered. He looked up then, eyes catching mine. "That's what they all say." "What about you?" I asked. "You look like you've been here forever." He went back to cleaning his weapon. 4 years. Thought I'd make detective by now. Still waiting. Something about the way he said it, calm but edged with disappointment, made me want to ask more. But I didn't. Instead, I said quietly, "Guess we're both trying to prove something." He didn't answer. Just clicked the gun back together and stood. "Get some sleep, Carter," he said. "Drills start at 5. When he turned off the light, I lay there staring at the ceiling, listening to the steady rhythm of his breathing from the other bed. It should have been comforting. Instead, it made my chest tighten. The next morning was hell, running in full gear, crawling through mud, learning to shoot, shout, move, all while Holbrook barked at us like we were dogs. By noon, my arms were shaking. I dropped my rifle once, and the sergeant was in my face immediately. "Carter, you think a suspect's gonna wait for you to get your grip right?" "No, sir." "Then why the hell are you dropping my weapon?" Before I could answer, Nathan stepped in. "Sir, it's my fault." I told him to adjust his stance. My timing was off. Holbrook turned on him, surprised. "You covering for him now, Reyes?" "No, sir," Nathan said evenly. "Just taking responsibility for my recruit." The sergeant stared him down. then nodded. Fine, you both run extra laps, 50. When he walked away, I hissed under my breath, "You didn't have to do that." He shrugged. "You'd have done the same. I don't even like running." That time I caught the smile for real. Small, but there. Later that evening, after the punishment laps, we showered in silence. The steam rose around us, mixing with exhaustion. Most of the other recruits had left, but Nathan stayed behind, sitting on the bench, towel slung around his neck, head tilted back against the wall. "You okay?" I asked quietly. He didn't open his eyes. "You'll get used to it." "Used to what?" "Being tested. By Holbrook. By everyone." The way he said it made something in my stomach twist. There was history behind that tone, something unspoken. He looked at me then, eyes tracing mine like he wanted to say more but couldn't. "Just keep your head down, rookie," he said finally. "Don't make it harder than it has to be." I nodded, even though I knew I wouldn't be able to. That night, I couldn't sleep again. Rain tapped against the window, and from across the room, I could see Nathan lying on his side, facing me. His eyes were closed, but his hand was gripping the edge of the blanket, like he was trying to hold something in place. He stirred suddenly, mumbling something in his sleep. I couldn't make it out, but his voice was low, almost pleading. "Hey," I whispered. "You okay?" He didn't answer, just turned over, breathing unevenly. I thought about waking him, but something stopped me. Maybe fear, maybe curiosity. Instead, I lay there, watching the shadow of his face under the streetlight leaking through the blinds. He looked strong, controlled, untouchable. But in that moment, under the flickering light, he looked human, and I realized, for the first time, that I wanted to know what he looked like when he wasn't holding everything in. The next morning, Sergeant Holbrook called roll. His tone was sharp, impatient. When he reached our names, he paused. "Carter." "Reyes." "Yes, sir," we said together. He looked at us, eyes narrowing. "You two seem to have gotten close. Be careful with that. This academy doesn't train partners. It trains officers. Keep your distance." "Yes, sir." But when I glanced sideways, Nathan was already looking at me, and the faintest trace of a smile crossed his face, the kind that said he wasn't planning to listen. By the second week, the academy felt like a battlefield disguised as a school. Every day started before sunrise, every drill designed to break you down until there was nothing left but instinct and obedience. I was starting to understand what Nathan meant about being tested. Every mistake was a scar waiting to happen. Every hesitation was weakness. That morning, Sergeant Holbrook announced our first live simulation, a full tactical response exercise with airsoft rifles, mock suspects, and time limits. It was meant to test teamwork, precision, and control under pressure. Nathan and I were assigned as partners. When Holbrook read out the pairings, he didn't even try to hide the smirk. "Reyes and Carter. Let's see if the rookie can keep up with his mentor." Nathan just nodded, but I could feel the tension radiating off him. After formation, he pulled me aside. "Listen, these drills are no joke. You follow my orders, no improvising, understand?" "Yes, sir." He raised an eyebrow. "Don't call me sir. Not here." "Then what do I call you?" He hesitated. "Nathan's fine." It was the first time he'd said his name like that, unguarded, personal, and it hit harder than I expected. The simulation started in the old training building, dim corridors, fake walls, cardboard suspects waiting around corners. We were supposed to clear each room, communicate, move as one. "Two-man entry," Nathan said, checking his gear. "You take left, I'll take right. Watch your corners." I nodded, my heart racing so loud I could barely hear his voice. We moved through the first rooms easily, steady, clean, focused. But halfway through the third, I misread a cue. I swung too early, tripped on loose flooring, and nearly took us both down. Nathan caught me before I hit the ground, one arm across my chest, pulling me tight against him. For a split second, the world went silent. His breath was right next to my ear, hot and fast. I felt his chest rise against my back, solid and close. "You okay?" he whispered. I nodded, unable to speak. He didn't let go right away. When he finally did, his voice was low. "Focus, rookie. You lose control, you lose everything." I knew he was talking about the drill, but it felt like something else. After the exercise, we sat outside near the track, waiting for debrief. My uniform was soaked with sweat, my hands trembling from adrenaline. Nathan was silent beside me, elbows on his knees, staring at the horizon. "You saved me back there," I said quietly. He glanced over. "It's my job." "Still," I said. "Thanks." He didn't answer, but the corner of his mouth lifted slightly. When Holbrook came over, we both stood. "Reyes, Carter, you two finished strong," the sergeant said. "But next time, Carter, try not to trip over your own boots." "Yes, sir." He gave Nathan a look. "You're spending a little too much time with this rookie. Don't forget where your loyalty lies." Nathan's jaw tightened. "My loyalty's to the badge, sir." "Good," Holbrook said. "Keep it that way." When he walked off, Nathan muttered under his breath, "The badge doesn't mean a damn thing if you lose your humanity." I wasn't sure if I was supposed to hear that. That night, after curfew, I couldn't sleep. The simulation kept replaying in my head. The sound of boots, his grip on me, the silence afterward. I got up and stepped outside. The hallway lights were dim, the air heavy with rain. Nathan was sitting alone on the steps outside the dorms, cigarette glowing between his fingers. "You smoke?" I asked quietly. He looked up. "Only when I can't stop thinking." "About what?" "Everything." I sat beside him. The rain was soft, barely there, but the smell of wet asphalt filled the air. He said, "You did good today." "I almost ruined the drill." "You recovered. That's what matters." I looked at him. His hair was damp, sticking slightly to his forehead. There was a small cut near his jawline, probably from crawling through the debris. "You always this hard on yourself?" he asked suddenly. "Guess I just want to prove I belong here." He nodded slowly. "You do." The words caught me off guard. "You really think so?" He turned to face me. "Yeah, I do." His eyes stayed on mine for a moment too long. The air between us felt charged, quiet, fragile. Then he said softly, "You should go back inside, rookie." "Why?" "Because if you don't, I won't want you to." My heart stopped. "What does that mean?" He flicked the cigarette into the rain. "It means you need to stop making this harder than it already is." The next morning, everything felt different. During PT, our movements synced without effort, like we'd been training together for years. But there was something new in the way he looked at me. Every time our eyes met, it lingered just a moment too long. After lunch, Sergeant Holbrook announced another partner drill, hand-to-hand defense. "Pair up." Of course, Nathan and I were matched again. "Carter," he said quietly, stepping into stance. "Don't hold back." He attacked first, fast, precise, testing me. I dodged, blocked, countered, until we were locked in a struggle, his arm across my shoulder, my hand gripping his wrist. For a heartbeat, we weren't training. We were just there, close enough to feel each other breathe. The world narrowed to that moment. Then I lost focus. My grip slipped and he flipped me onto the mat, landing on top of me. The room fell silent. His weight pressed against me, his face inches from mine. I could feel the heat radiating between us, the tension so sharp it hurt. Neither of us moved. Then the sergeant's voice cut through the air. "Reyes, Carter, on your feet!" We jumped up instantly. Holbrook's eyes narrowed. "Keep your distance," he barked. "This is a police academy, not a dating service." Laughter rippled through the room. My face burned. Nathan said nothing, jaw tight, eyes fixed on the wall. When the drill ended, he walked straight out, not even looking at me. That night, I found him in the gym, hitting the heavy bag hard enough to split his knuckles. "Are you trying to break your hand?" I asked. He didn't stop. "You shouldn't have hesitated today." "You mean when you were on top of me?" He froze. The bag swung between us like a pendulum. "That's not what it looked like," he said sharply. "Then what was it?" He exhaled, stepping closer. "It was a mistake." Really, I said quietly, because it didn't feel like one. His eyes met mine, dark, conflicted, furious at himself. You have no idea what you're doing, Carter. Maybe not, I said, but neither do you. For a long second he didn't move. Then he turned, grabbing his jacket. Get some sleep, rookie, he said, voice tight. You'll need it. When he left, the gym went silent again, except for the sound of my heartbeat, still echoing from what almost happened. The Academy's nights were never truly quiet. Even after lights out, you could still hear the faint rhythm of boots in the distance, the hum of generators, and the occasional burst of laughter from recruits who couldn't sleep. That night, I wasn't sleeping either. I kept replaying the moment in the gym, the look on Nathan's face right before he walked out. The tension between us wasn't just something I imagined anymore. It was there, raw and unspoken, pushing against every rule we were supposed to follow. At 2:13 a.m., the emergency alarm shattered the silence. I shot upright. A voice came through the dorm intercom. All senior cadets and assigned recruits report to the training perimeter immediately. Unauthorized movement detected in the west compound. Nathan was already out of bed, throwing on his uniform. He looked calm, but his eyes were sharp, alert. Let's go, he said, grabbing his flashlight. I followed him into the cold night. The rain from earlier had turned the field into mud. Floodlights flickered on, cutting across the compound walls. Sergeant Holbrook stood near the main gate, barking orders. Reyes, Carter, take the south fence. No one gets in or out. Move. We sprinted across the field, boots sinking into wet ground. The air smelled like steel and rain. My pulse was racing, half from adrenaline, half from being next to him again. When we reached the fence line, everything was quiet except for the wind. Nathan raised a hand, signaling me to stop. Lights off, he whispered. Listen. I did. For a moment, nothing. Then a faint metallic scrape, maybe 10 feet away. He pointed toward an old storage shed near the trees. Stay close, he murmured. We moved silently, our breaths sinking as we approached. My hand was shaking slightly on the grip of my training pistol. He noticed. Breathe, Carter, he said softly. It's just a drill. But it didn't sound like he believed that. He reached the door first and gestured for me to flank left. I nodded, crouching low. 3, he mouthed. 2, 1, he yanked the door open and a shadow darted inside. Police, Academy security, Nathan shouted, sweeping the light beam across the dark room. I followed, heart pounding. The beam caught movement. A kid, maybe 16, eyes wide, holding a metal bar like a weapon. Drop it, Nathan ordered. I wasn't stealing anything. The kid cried. I just wanted food. Nathan lowered his voice. It's okay. Put it down. The boy hesitated, then dropped the bar with a clang. I exhaled in relief. Nathan stepped forward, reaching for him, and that's when the shelf beside us gave way. The sound was deafening. Boxes crashed down, metal bars clattered, and dust filled the air. Reyes! I shouted. He was on the floor, one of the shelves, pinning his leg. I dropped to my knees beside him. Don't move! He grimaced. No kidding. I tried to lift the shelf, but it wouldn't budge. He grabbed my arm. Carter, I've got it, I said, voice shaking. Just hang on. I pushed with everything I had until the metal shifted enough for him to pull his leg free. He groaned, clutching his thigh. Blood was already seeping through his uniform. Damn it, he hissed. The kid bolted for the door. Hey, I shouted, but Nathan grabbed my sleeve. Let him go, he said through gritted teeth. He's just scared. I hesitated, then nodded. Help me up. I wrapped an arm around him, hoisting him to his feet. His arm went over my shoulder, his body leaning heavily against mine. The contact sent a jolt through me, not from fear, but something else. We stumbled out into the rain, both of us soaked, the compound lights flashing ahead. By the time we reached the infirmary, Holbrook was waiting. What the hell happened? He barked. Unauthorized civilian, sir, Nathan said, still catching his breath. No injuries to the suspect. Your leg says otherwise, Nathan shrugged. Occupational hazard. The sergeant's gaze moved to me. And you, Carter, you followed orders? Yes, sir, he grunted. Good, now both of you get checked out. Reyes, you're off drills until that leg heals. When Holbrook walked off, Nathan muttered, Yeah, like that's gonna happen. Inside the infirmary, the nurse stitched his wound. I sat nearby, unable to look away. He caught me staring. You don't have to stay, you know. Yeah, I do, I said. Someone's got to make sure you don't pass out, he smirked. You're not going to let me forget this, are you? Not a chance. When the nurse left, the room fell silent. Rain tapped softly against the window. He leaned back on the cot, exhausted. You did good tonight, rookie. Guess I learned from the best. His eyes met mine, tired, warm, honest. Don't say that. Why not? Because if you keep looking at me like that... He stopped, jaw tightening. Like what? He didn't answer. I took a step closer. Say it. His voice was low, almost trembling. Like you see more than you're supposed to. I swallowed hard. Maybe I do. He stared at me, caught between wanting to leave and wanting to stay. You have no idea how dangerous this is. Then why aren't you walking away? He let out a shaky breath. Because I'm tired of pretending I don't feel it too. The words hung between us like lightning waiting to strike. I didn't move. Neither did he. Then the door opened, and Sergeant Holbrook's voice cut through the tension. Reyes, Carter, my office, now. Nathan's expression hardened instantly. He pushed himself off the cot. Guess break time's over. We followed the sergeant down the hallway, rain still echoing on the roof. He didn't say a word until we stepped into his office. Then he turned, eyes cold. I saw the footage from the security camera, Holbrook said. You two were awfully close in that shed. My stomach dropped. He leaned forward. Let me make one thing clear. I don't care what you do after you graduate, but in my academy, there's no room for distractions. Nathan's jaw clenched. Understood, sir? Good, Holbrook said, his tone like a blade. Because one more misstep from either of you, and you're both out. We left in silence. The rain had stopped, but the air still felt heavy. At the dorm entrance, Nathan finally spoke. He's watching us now. Every move, I know. Then you understand what that means. I nodded slowly. Yeah, but it doesn't change anything. He turned to me, eyes shadowed by the dim light. It changes everything, Liam. And before I could say another word, he walked away, limping slightly, uniform still stained with blood. I watched him disappear into the darkness, my heart pounding with a truth I couldn't unfeel, because the sergeant was right about one thing. This wasn't just distraction anymore. It was danger, and I was already in too deep. The academy felt colder after that night, not just because of the rain, but because every hallway, every drill, every conversation carried a new weight. The sense that someone was watching. Sergeant Holbrook didn't speak to us much after the incident, but when he did, his words were sharp, deliberate, measured, like he wanted us to know he was still in control, eyes forward. Reyes, he'd bark during formation. Carter, stop following his lead. Think for yourself. It wasn't training anymore. It was punishment disguised as discipline. Nathan barely spoke to me that week. He went from being the mentor everyone admired to the ghost no one dared to approach. Even the other cadets started keeping their distance. The silence between us was unbearable. 3 days later, we got assigned to night perimeter duty, the 2-person patrol no one wanted. 4 hours in freezing air, circling the academy's outer fence line. When I saw our names paired on the roster, my chest tightened. Holbrook had done it on purpose. Nathan showed up late, limping slightly from his leg injury, wearing a rain jacket that made him look even more untouchable. He didn't look at me as he handed me a flashlight. Let's just get through this, he said flatly. The night was thick with fog. We walked side by side along the fence, the gravel crunching under our boots. After a long stretch of silence, I finally spoke. You're really not going to talk to me? He didn't slow down. There's nothing to talk about. Holbrook's trying to break us, I said. You see that, right? He's trying to do his job. His job isn't to destroy people. He stopped walking, turning toward me. You don't get it, Carter. This place doesn't care who we are. It only cares if we obey. I'm not asking you to disobey, I said quietly. I'm asking you not to disappear. He stared at me, the fog curling between us like smoke. For a moment, his expression softened. Then he said, You make it hard to keep my head straight. Maybe that's not such a bad thing. He looked away, jaw tightening. It is if it costs you everything you've worked for. I stepped closer. What if it's already too late for that? Before he could answer, a sound cracked through the air. The sharp pop of a motion sensor alarm from the north field. We turned instinctively. "Come on," he said, running ahead. When we reached the north sector, the lights were already flashing red. A door to the old warehouse stood half open, the same one from the night of the break-in. Nathan raised his hand. "Stay behind me." I followed anyway. Inside, the air smelled of dust and oil. The shadows moved strangely, and somewhere deeper inside a faint sound echoed, a whisper, a metallic clink, something alive. He signaled for me to flank left. I moved quietly, my pulse hammering in my ears. When I reached the far wall, I found what triggered the alarm, a small recorder. Blinking red. "Someone planted this," I said, holding it up. Nathan's face darkened. "Audio surveillance. Holbrook?" He nodded grimly. "Had to be." Before I could speak, a voice echoed from the doorway. Well, isn't this touching? We spun around. Holbrook stood in the entrance, arms crossed, flashlight beams slicing through the dark. Behind him, 2 other officers watched silently. "Sir," Nathan started, but Holbrook cut him off. "Save it. You think I don't see what's happening here? You think I haven't noticed the late-night talks, the looks during drills?" "It's not what you think," Nathan said tightly. Holbrook stepped closer. "Then what is it, Reyes?" "Enlighten me." Nathan's hands clenched into fists. "It's none of your business." Holbrook smirked. "Everything that happens in this academy is my business." He turned his flashlight toward me. "And you, Carter, you really think following him around is going to make you a better cop? Or are you just trying to impress your mentor?" I swallowed hard. "We're just doing our jobs, sir." "Your jobs?" Holbrook's voice rose. "Your job is to protect the law, not to disgrace the uniform with whatever this is." Nathan stepped forward, his voice dangerously calm. "You don't get to talk to him like that." "Or what?" Holbrook sneered. "You'll hit me? Go ahead, Reyes. Give me an excuse to throw you out." For a second, I thought Nathan might do it. His shoulders tensed, his breath quickened. Then he looked at me, and that stopped him. He took a slow breath. "No, sir." Holbrook studied him for a moment, disappointed that he hadn't snapped. "Good. You got 1 week left in this program. Don't waste it." He turned to leave, then paused in the doorway. "Oh, and Reyes, fix your little problem before graduation, or I'll fix it for you." After they left, the silence pressed against us. Nathan leaned against the wall, hands trembling. "He's going to ruin us." "He already tried," I said. "And we're still here." He laughed bitterly. "You don't understand how this world works, Liam. Then show me." He shook his head. "It's not that simple." "Maybe it is." I stepped closer, the sound of rain starting again outside. "Tell me this doesn't mean anything," I said quietly. "Look me in the eye and say it." He met my gaze. His lips parted, but no words came out. "Say it," I repeated, my voice trembling now. "I can't." He finally whispered. The confession hung there, fragile, dangerous, real. He closed the distance between us before I even realized what was happening. His hand gripping the back of my neck, pulling me in. Our foreheads touched first, just like in that shed weeks ago. His breath was unsteady, his body tense like he was fighting himself. "Tell me to stop," he whispered. "I can't," I said. Then his lips brushed mine. Quick, restrained, like he wasn't sure it was allowed. It wasn't, but neither of us cared anymore. When he finally pulled back, his voice was raw. "You don't know what you just did." "Yeah," I said, heart pounding. "I do." He shook his head, stepping away. "This doesn't leave this room." "I'm not ashamed, Nathan. Then you're braver than me." The next morning, Holbrook called me to his office. He didn't yell this time. He didn't need to. He just slid a photo across the desk, a still frame from the warehouse security feed. It showed Nathan and me, standing close, faces inches apart. Holbrook smiled faintly. "You've got one chance to save your future, Carter. Tell me the truth. Was this personal?" I stared at the photo, my stomach turning. My heartbeat was so loud it drowned out everything else. If I said yes, Nathan would lose everything. If I said no, I'd lose myself. I looked up, forcing my voice to stay calm. "No, sir. It was training review." "Nothing more?" Holbrook studied me, then leaned back. "Good answer." But I could tell from the look in his eyes, He didn't believe me, and maybe, for the first time in my life, I didn't believe myself either. For the rest of that week, the academy felt like a cage. Every corridor was a whisper. Every look lasted too long. And every time I saw Nathan, he pretended I wasn't there. He didn't sit next to me in the mess hall anymore. Didn't correct my form during drills. Didn't speak during briefings. But I still caught him glancing. Once, twice, when he thought no one was looking, Holbrook's shadow was everywhere. He walked slower through the halls now, like a man proud of his own power. He'd stop near me sometimes, just close enough to make my skin crawl. "Keep up the good work, Carter," he'd say, voice full of quiet threat. He knew. And worse, Nathan knew he knew. It all came to a head on Friday. We were assigned to the urban pursuit simulation, a final test that decided which recruits advanced to field training. Paired teams were scattered across the Mock City compound, chasing suspects, clearing buildings, communicating by radio. When the assignments were posted, I already knew what I'd see. "Partner, Reyes." Nathan met my eyes for 1 second before looking away. "Let's just get through it," he muttered. I nodded, but the words felt heavy. The siren blared and we were off, running through narrow alleyways built from concrete barriers and fake storefronts. Nathan led, moving fast despite his limp. "Left side," he ordered. I followed, heart pounding, scanning every shadow. We rounded a corner and froze. A figure in dark gear stood ahead, holding what looked like a training pistol. Before I could react, a shot rang out. The paint round hit the wall inches from my face. "Cover!" Nathan shouted, pulling me behind a barrier. He fired 2 rounds back, striking the target square in the chest. The suspect fell, raising his hands in surrender. "Clear!" Nathan yelled. We advanced together, checking the corners. I was breathing hard, adrenaline burning through my veins. He glanced at me and almost smiled. "Nice reflexes, rookie." "Thanks," I said between breaths. "Not bad for a guy with one good leg," he smirked. "Watch it, Carter." It was the first time he'd sounded like himself in days. We were heading toward the extraction zone when the radio crackled. "Unit 6 report. Suspect headed toward the control tower." Nathan frowned. "That's not part of our sector." "Doesn't matter," I said. "We're closest." He hesitated, then nodded. "Let's move." The tower loomed ahead, its glass windows reflecting the dull gray sky. As we climbed the stairs, something felt off. There was no sound, no footsteps, no voices, just wind. At the top, the control room lights flickered on, and there he was, Sergeant Holbrook. He stood by the window, arms crossed, smirking like a man who'd been waiting. "Well done," he said slowly. "You made good time." Nathan stiffened. "So what's going on?" "This isn't a drill." My stomach dropped. Holbrook gestured toward the security monitors. "Do you know what I see when I watch the footage of this academy? 2 cadets who can't follow orders. 2 men who think their emotions matter more than the badge." "Sir," Nathan began, but Holbrook cut him off. "You had potential, Reyes. You could have been a detective one day. But instead, you threw it away for some rookie fantasy." Nathan's voice was low but steady. "With all due respect, sir, you don't know what you're talking about." "Oh, I think I do," Holbrook sneered. "I've seen this before. Weakness disguised as connection." He turned toward me. "And you, Carter, you still have a chance to save yourself. Say the word, and I'll make sure you graduate. But you'll need to sign a report. One that says Reyes pressured you, that he crossed a line." The room spun. I stared at him, disbelief turning to nausea. "You want me to lie?" "I want you to survive," Holbrook said. "Because he won't." Nathan took a step forward. "Don't even think about it." Holbrook raised his voice. "You think I'm the enemy, Reyes? Look around. You'll never make it out of here with him. The academy, the department, they'll eat you alive." Nathan didn't move. "Maybe, but at least I'll know I didn't become you." Holbrook's expression hardened. "That's your final word?" "Yeah," Nathan said. "It is." The sergeant nodded once, then slammed his hand against the wall alarm. Within seconds, the loudspeaker blared, "Breach in tower sector. Units respond." Nathan turned to me. "We have to go now, but go!" he shouted, grabbing my arm. We ran down the stairwell as alarms echoed across the compound. Flashlights and voices filled the courtyard outside. By the time we reached the dorms, The other officers were searching everything, lockers, rooms, even personal bags. Holbrook had started a full inspection. A witch hunt. We slipped into our room, breathless. Nathan slammed the door and leaned against it. "He's going to frame us," I said, panic rising. "Let him try," Nathan said, his voice calm but eyes blazing. "We've got nothing to hide." I laughed bitterly. "You sure about that?" He looked at me then, really looked at me, and something broke in his face. "No," he said quietly. "I'm not sure about anything anymore." I took a step closer. "Then stop pretending." He didn't move. "Holbrook's already decided who we are," I said. "So maybe it's time we decide for ourselves." He exhaled, the sound shaky, raw. "Liam," he whispered, and then I was in his arms, his mouth on mine, every rule we'd ever followed burning away. It wasn't desperate this time. It was deliberate, steady, slow, full of all the things we couldn't say. When he finally pulled back, his forehead rested against mine. "This can't last," he said, "I know. But right now it's real," I said. He closed his eyes, nodding. "Yeah, it's real." The next morning, every recruit was summoned to the courtyard. Holbrook stood on the platform, eyes scanning the crowd. "One of your own has violated the academy code. Until someone confesses, training is suspended." No one spoke. He smiled coldly. "Fine, then I'll start making examples." He looked directly at Nathan. "Reyes, step forward." Nathan straightened. His voice was clear. "If you're looking for someone to blame, blame me. I won't hide behind anyone else." "Good," Holbrook said. "Then pack your things." My blood ran cold. "No," I said. "It's not just him." Nathan turned, eyes pleading. "Don't." Holbrook's gaze shifted to me. "Carter, one more word and you're gone too." I didn't care. "Then we go together." Gasps rippled through the recruits. Holbrook's face reddened. "You're done here, both of you." Nathan reached for my arm, steadying me. "Let it go," he whispered, but his hand lingered a second too long, and that was enough. Holbrook's voice boomed. "Escort them out." As two officers approached, Nathan whispered, "We'll find a way. I promise." And for the first time since this began, I didn't believe him, because when I looked into his eyes, I saw fear. Not of Holbrook, not of losing the badge, but of losing me. They didn't even let us pack. Two officers escorted Nathan and me out of the courtyard as the others watched in silence. Some looked confused, others relieved, but no one dared speak. Holbrook stood by the gate, hands behind his back, face carved from stone. "This academy," he said coldly, "doesn't train men who can't control themselves." Nathan didn't answer. He just stared ahead, jaw clenched. "Get them off my campus," Holbrook barked, and that was it. The gate closed behind us with a metallic thud, the sound of everything we'd worked for shutting us out. The car ride to the nearest motel was silent. Rain hit the windows like static, blurring the world outside. When we stopped, the officers handed us a small box each, our IDs, wallets, and the few personal items from our lockers. Then they drove away without another word. Nathan stood under the flickering motel sign, staring at the box in his hands. His uniform was soaked, his hair plastered to his forehead. He looked like someone who'd lost more than a job. "You okay?" I asked softly. He gave a small, humorless laugh. "Define okay." We went inside, rented one room, 2 beds, peeling wallpaper, the smell of old cigarettes in the air. The clerk didn't ask questions. He didn't have to. We looked like trouble trying to disappear. Nathan sat on the edge of his bed, head in his hands. I didn't know what to say, so I didn't. After a while, he said quietly, he was never going to let us graduate. "You mean Holbrook?" He nodded. "He's been like this for years, obsessed with control. Last year, another recruit dropped out after he caught him having dinner off campus with a guy from another department. He made an example out of him, too." My chest tightened. "So this isn't the first time?" "No," he said. "But it's the first time someone fought back." I watched him for a moment. His hands were shaking, barely but enough. "You didn't deserve this," I said. He looked up. "Neither did you," I smiled faintly. "Guess that makes us even." He laughed. The first real laugh I'd heard from him in weeks. "You're insane, you know that." "Yeah," I said. "But so are you. We ordered takeout, ate in silence. Every so often our eyes met across the table, and neither of us looked away. After dinner, Nathan went to take a shower. When he came out, the tension that had been hanging between us finally cracked. He stood there, towel around his shoulders, hair damp, exhaustion etched into every line of his face. "I don't know what comes next," he said quietly. "Maybe that's okay." He shook his head. "You still have a chance to go back. You can appeal. Say I forced you into it." I froze. "You think I'd do that?" "I think you should," he said. "You have a future, Liam. Don't throw it away for me." I stood. "You're the one who taught me not to run." He looked up at me, and whatever wall he had left finally fell. "Come here," he said softly. I did. He pulled me close, his hand resting on the back of my neck like it belonged there. The kiss started slow, cautious, like we were afraid it would break the world again. Then it deepened, not reckless, not desperate, just real. When we finally pulled apart, he whispered, "If this is wrong, I don't want to be right." "Then don't be," I said. We spent the night talking, the kind of conversation that strips you bare, about childhoods, regrets, everything we'd never said out loud. He told me about his mother, how she'd begged him not to join the force. She said people like us don't survive in places like that. She was wrong, I said. We did survive. He smiled faintly. For now. When the sun began to rise, I realized how quiet the world was. No orders, no alarms, no drills. Just us. Later that morning, there was a knock at the door. Nathan opened it and froze. It was Haley, one of the academy clerks. She looked nervous, holding a brown envelope. "They told me to deliver this," she said, "but I thought you should see it first." Inside were 2 letters, one addressed to Nathan, one to me, both stamped with the academy's seal. Nathan opened his first. His eyes flicked across the page, then darkened. "Termination confirmed," he said quietly. I opened mine. "Cadet Liam Carter, your training status has been placed under review. Report to the board Monday for re-evaluation." Nathan looked at me. "They're offering you a second chance," I shook my head. "No, they're offering me a deal," he frowned. "What kind of deal?" "The kind where I get reinstated if I testify that you coerced me." He closed his eyes. "Of course." "Holbrook doesn't lose." I crumpled the letter in my fist. "Then neither will we." We went back to the academy 2 days later, not as recruits, but as witnesses. Haley had given us something else before we left. A flash drive. "Security footage," she whispered. "From Holbrook's office. When the board convened, Holbrook sat there with his perfect posture and smug smile. "Cadet Carter," the chairman said, "you've been given the opportunity to clear your record. Do you wish to testify?" "Yes," I said, "but not the way you expect." I pulled out the flash drive and handed it over. On the screen behind them, Holbrook's voice filled the room. "I'll make sure they never wear the badge again. I don't care what I have to fabricate." Gasps rippled through the boardroom. The chairman turned pale. "Sergeant Holbrook." "Is this your voice?" Holbrook stammered. "This is out of context." But it didn't matter. The damage was done. They reinstated Nathan's position within a week. The sergeant was suspended pending investigation. When I saw Nathan outside the academy gates, he looked lighter, like the weight of 1,000 unspoken fears had finally lifted. "So," I said, "back where you belong," he smiled. "Only if you're here too." I hesitated. "They offered me a spot in another division." He stepped closer. "Then take it." "We'll still find each other," I smiled. "We already did." That night, before leaving the academy for good, Nathan and I stood by the training field where it all began. The lights were off, the air cool and still. He looked out at the empty space and said quietly, "Funny. They taught us to serve, to protect, but never how to love without fear. Maybe that's what we're here to teach them," I said. He turned to me. "And what lesson is that?" "That love doesn't need permission." He smiled, small, genuine, the kind that said he finally believed it. I thought the badge would define me. But the truth is, the uniform meant nothing until I met the man willing to lose his for what he believed in. Sometimes courage isn't about charging into danger. Sometimes it's about standing in front of the person you love and refusing to let the world shame you for it. Nathan and I didn't break the rules broke us first. But what came after was freedom. If this story moved you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because love stories like this remind us that sometimes breaking the rules is the only way to find the truth.